Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. We are back again with another PWCC weekly review where I go through the top 100, or technically 96, PWCC weekly soccer cards that have sold. Pretty simple format. We go through it, talk about where things are moving, how things are grooving. If you guys do enjoy it, would appreciate a like. These videos are very fun for me, and that helps me know that you guys enjoy it as well. I'll also get back to making more normal videos lately. I have had a couple weeks where this has basically been the only thing I've been doing. I have been thinking about a lot of other things and have a lot of videos that I want to get rolling, so that will be coming soon. But with that said, let's go ahead and get on into it. The first card here is a Carlos Puyol 1999 Monday Chromo. This is one where, you know, I say it a lot, but this is a really egregious mistake here with the PSA Pop 1 of 1. I don't know why PWCC has this, if sometimes it's not going to work properly and could, you know, lead people into maybe paying more than they'd want to. The last one of this actually sold last summer for around $350, so this is a decent haircut, but last summer when this 9 was selling for $350 and 8 was selling for like $150, and 8 currently is selling for $20, so the 8 has basically plummeted into oblivion. This did not, and I think part of the reason is it says it's PSA Pop 1 of 1. It's actually a Pop 1 of 7, 1 graded higher, which, you know, make of that what you will. Yeah, I saw this and I was like, a 10 times premium from an 8 to 9, that doesn't make too much sense, but that kind of does, knowing that. Maybe that played a role, or maybe there's just that much of a premium on the 9, I do not know, but, you know, always be on the lookout. Gold Messi next to it, going for $200. Doesn't seem like a bad price point for a gold Messi. Not that I encourage random buying just because it's numbers or colors, but, you know, some people do that. Purple Christian Pulisic, $222. Was not a buyer for that. I'd rather go for the holo, which we'll see right up here. Also didn't go for that, spoiler, but we have the Garnacho here going for $228. This is a PSA 10. Wanted to actually look at this just because I haven't looked too much into these types of sales, the Leaf rookies, but in a PSA 10 going for $228, that is a little bit above the last sale, but realistically pretty close to what the raw ones were doing in the past, so hasn't moved too much. Christian Pulisic holographic, they're going for $228 and a 10. Pretty low price, I guess I would say, but personally, I prefer the USMNT kit stuff, and you can get numbered USMNT kit stuff for less than this, so I usually prefer that. I don't much care for PSA 10s either, unless it's like a really low pop. We'll see an example of that later for Pulisic. This one, I don't know, maybe someone overpaid, or maybe they just like it. I thought initially that this was a 70 Calciatori, but this is a 69. I don't know a single sticker in here, so realistically, if you're buying that, it's just pack collecting, I guess, and maybe that's a hard year to find, which, I don't know, would be a bit of a stretch since you can find 70, but it is what it is. I saw this in the preview, and I was like, man, you know, 1924, that looks so good. What a beautiful looking sticker. You know, I was thinking, oh man, in South America, 50 years later, they couldn't even make stuff that looks this good. And then I looked into the player, and, you know, not as beautiful of a sticker anymore. From what I can tell, a German legend in terms of footballing. Outside of footballing, not so much. If you want to take a peek, you know, the era and the region can give you an idea, but I'm not going to go into it. Next to that, we have the 2020 Florian Wirtz in a pink, numbered out of 75, PSA 9, going for $234. Seems like a decent price point for this type of stuff. I just sort of, you know, make out in terms of where the overall market is. Does that feel good? I mean, out of 75 isn't anything crazy, and a PSA 9 isn't either. Going for $250 feels fair. Next to that, we have a Jude out of 99 and a PSA 10 going for the same price. Might seem light, but realistically, Jude has a lot more options than Wirtz does, which is why that is what it is. We have a Beckenbauer and Kimmich dual auto here out of 35 going for $250. Pretty nice price point. PSA 10, you know, it is sticker autos, but at the same time, I don't think sticker autos are the worst, especially if you can have a cool card like this if you're a German fan. PSA 6 Romero going for $250. That's a decent bit of a haircut. These have been coming out in high grade and just continue to be kind of sold and bought here and there, so they continue to go down. Next to that was a Sepp Maier PSA 6 going for $250. I mean, I was peeking at this just because I got the Gerd Muller recently, and so I was like, oh, you know, maybe. But that was actually a pretty high price point, $250 for that. Looking back, a PSA 4 in the same auction also went for $100. The PSA 4 before that went for $120, and a 7 back in the day here went for $1,050, and the last 6 went for $350 about 8 months ago. So down a little bit for sure, but at this point, I just don't see enough of these graded realistically to want to pay a good premium for them graded. I'd rather try my luck raw and see what I can do in that sense, or maybe wait until I can get one a bit cheaper. But a really, really cool card from a pretty legendary set, I would say, if you know you're a German collector, just a footballing history collector. 1959 Heinerle Pele team photo in a PSA 3 going for $250. Doesn't seem like a bad deal to me at all. Team photos, though, is what it is. It's not really that popular, but at the same time, if you're going to get a team photo, 60s, 70s Pele in Brazil seemed like the way to go. Next to that, 2018 treble. Next to that, 2018 treble Karim Benzema. We don't see a lot of these on PWCC, I don't think. But 260, my opinion on treble isn't great, just because I know that the market loves it, and I know it's something that people enjoy, right? And I respect that, but just basically, the whole market sort of took a dump in the same time that treble took a pump, right? And so if one thing's dumping and another thing's pumping, I'm just going to be weary, is the way I'd put it. Long term, I think they're cool cards, sure. But yeah, I've seen pictures where this Benzema Raw was going for like, 10, 20 bucks and no one really cared. Now it's 260. It's just a bit much for me, but I do understand why people like it. Abby Wambach sticker, PSA 10. Next up, we have a 2006 Messi PSA 9 going for 264. Decent price point there, about what they've been going for, maybe a little bit higher, so nothing too crazy. So this is like a tale of two stickers right here. One of them is an amazing purchase, in my opinion. One of them is a poor purchase and a poor job by PSA. So first one, 2002 Premier League Wayne Rooney Merlin black sticker. This is black back, so this is why this is important. Basically, this is the more rare of the two. You have the green and the black. Nonetheless, PSA 9, pop 1 of 3, just one graded higher. I do believe that to be true. 250 is not bad. When you look back at past sales, the green, which is the more common version, and a 10 would go for about 750. So given typical ratios, that works out about the same, and basically has no premium added for the more rare variant. So if you care about that stuff, basically you're being able to buy in on the rarer variant without really paying a premium for it, which is always, good if you're into it again. Speaking of rare variants, this is the Shreddy sticker, David Beckham in a 6. You would think, wow, we haven't seen a lot of those. That's pretty good. 260 would, I actually don't know how that would be. I haven't seen a Shreddy sell in a long time, so I don't know where that would go on comps. And we didn't see a Shreddy sell here, because if we look at this and you look at the back, there is nothing that indicates that this is a Shreddy sticker. Basically, there's a regular release via packs for the Merlin, and there's also a Shreddy's one, which is, I believe, a cereal where stickers were handed out too, and so that's a more rare variant, and it says Shreddy's on the back. This does not, and that is not a $260 sticker without the Shreddy's symbol on the back. So someone, kind of got finessed there. I guess to be fair to PWCC, they did not put Shreddy's in the title, so maybe, they were sort of hedging on that one, but I'm not too sure what was going on there. Yeah, what are you going to do? I did notice in a few months ago when I did the Pop Report update, basically I noticed that there were a lot more Shreddies. Maybe it was just one grader that didn't know the difference between Shreddies and the regular, and that's why that happened. Could be. Next up, we have a Gordon Banks 1962. Really cool looking, but not terribly hard to get in high grade, which is why it went for the price it did. Next to that, a 2005 Messi 71 bis, 8.5 going for 275. Feels like a decent price point. I bought a 7.5 somewhat recently for like $100, 120, something like that. So given that, this would seem to be fair. Not really the best looking picture for Messi, but at the same time, I think, just the lineage of the Mega Crack set and all that. Definitely something I liked, but at the same time, it doesn't look the best, surely. Then a Maradona Prismatic Edis Calciatori from 1985. Love the look of these. PSA 8, pop 1 of 9, just 2 graded higher, so pretty high grade, and really nice looking sticker going for 275. 1962 Garincha, a really cool looking one there for an early Garincha, not too early, but also, pretty respectable. 2020 Jude Bellingham, blue refractor going for 288 in a PSA 10. Again, Jude just has a lot of stuff, which is why his numbered stuff doesn't go crazy. Probably would if he had more of a Erling Haaland type of rookie year. This is a refractor going for 288. That's actually a little bit up from where it's been lately, so not too bad on that sale. Then we have another early Garincha with some great eye appeal there, and a PSA 5, which is a pretty good grade, I'd assume. PSA pop 1 of 2, non-graded higher. Next to that, we have a João Felix. At one point, this was one of the cards of the hobby. 2018 green refractor here, going for 300 in a BGS 9.5. That's actually a Gem Plus, so that would have been a true gem in terms of BGS's new proposed grading system that, then got crushed. Relatively common Pele that I've seen a good bit of in a PSA 5 going for 310 there, mid-60s. I thought this was pretty low. I mean, just generally speaking, I haven't seen this type of stuff in a while. 2016 Kylian Mbappe sticker, 8.5 going for 324. Actually somewhat comparable to PSA sales, which I thought was weird. This is, Bar fall, 2,300 initially for a PSA 8, now down to 360, which, you know, kind of made me think, wow, I'm surprised that BGS held that well for a sticker, but, you know, is what it is. Maybe people trust more in modern. 1953 Kubala looks really cool, but don't know too much about it. PSA 4, so decently high grade, but also graded somewhat recently, and also a hand-cut designation there. Then a Santiago Bernabeu PSA 1. It says rookie, but you never really know with PWCC. Looks really good, though, and always, personally, I love the sort of bigger collectibles in terms of soccer. And just in general, typically they're, you know, heavily discounted and even a bigger item, so I sort of like it a bit. We have an early Rivellino. This is not distinguished with a rookie card, but looks really cool. We have an early Rivellino paired up with a 2019 Speckle Holland, going for a little bit more than the refractor that we saw earlier, about 70 bucks more. Campio Messi showing up at 360, kind of light. Campio Messi showing up at 360, not too bad of a price. Typically, these are around the 400 range, so a little light, but not too crazy. This I thought was really expensive, and I looked up the comps, and it was. So a 2003 Panini Football Zlatan PSA 9. If we look back here, basically, I mean, 360 from 103 and 158 and 150, and I mean, to be fair, you know, a while ago, it was really expensive. Again, you know, at the peak when there wasn't a lot of stuff graded, things had a premium. But that's a massive lift. Now, you know, when you look at it, there hasn't been one of these to sell in 4 months. And we'll talk more about that as we go on, but a lot of things have slowed down really, really massively. So I know people are used to prices going one after another, down and down and down, and that's the way it was. I mean, part of that is population just growing and people wanting to sell, but now population's not really growing, so there's not that just supply onto the market constantly. And so maybe stuff like that does happen. I know whenever something 3X's now, everyone's like, that's probably a shill bid. I don't know, maybe that's just someone that wants that, has been looking for months, and is like, you know, I'm just gonna take my shot at it, I don't care. It is a really cool Zlatan, and you really can't get too much earlier than that graded by PSA, so, I mean, I think it's cool. Would I pay 300? Probably not, but, you know. 1978 Hugo Sanchez and a PSA 5. Don't see this all too often. PSA Pop 1 of 2, non-graded higher. He has a few different options, so, you know, you kind of got to figure out which one you want to go to in regards to that, but I do think that's really cool. Pele sticker auto from Leaf going for about 400. Not a great looking auto, but not a bad looking card for Leaf, I would say, but it is Leaf, of course. Campio Messi and a PSA 8 getting a $24 premium over the Campione, so not too crazy there. A Nanina Pele postcard, it would seem. Yeah, if you look at the back, yeah, that's a postcard. So you guys are going to have to battle with this on your own. Personally, I like postcards. It's just a nice side fun thing that if you can find them cheap online, like sure. Paying premiums for postcards, not to say that this is a premium. I don't know, maybe that's cheap. You know, personally, I know nothing, but I'm just saying you got to be careful. That's all I'll say. We continue, 1952 Kubala, really early Kubala. It says rookie. I'd presume it's right, but again, I just wish I could trust PWCC, but I can't. But from what I can see, Kubala has a lot of early stuff, so you really have to decipher that on your own. 1999 Steven Gerrard, PSA 9 coming in at 400. Taking a look at the past sales, we can see that this PSA 9 went for 400. The last PSA 9 went for 810, so decent haircut from there. And the PSA 6 last year went for 400. So, I mean, really good deal there if you're a England collector, Stevie G, Liverpool, whatever you may be. Seems like a very good entry point. Pretty rare, as you can see, update edition of the Merlin season, so not as many out there. PSA 9 also, don't know why there's not a population beneath it, but it is what it is. 1988 Carlos Valderrama, this says rookie. This is part of why, you really can't trust that. It's not really a true rookie. It's not really even close, but it is, I guess, early Valderrama and going for $400 and a 6. Pretty nice price there. PSA 10 Silver Prism Pulisic Select here. This one goes for 408. Last one went for 504. Before that, 9.5, 225, and then as you can see back here, 1,000, and then almost 2,000. So from the and then before that, $50. So I guess this is raw. So to be fair, back then it was probably like 100, 150. Then it pumped to 2,000. Now it's 400-ish. So that's the story of, I guess, soccer cards in general. Pulisic also. Personally, I've never been a huge fan of base or silver, especially at those crazy high price points back then. I was not a part. I don't know. You can get so many cooler rookies for Pulisic for way less, but this isn't a bad price, especially now coming from where it's been, I guess. 2022 National Treasures Neymar going for 430 with an on card. Feels like a pretty light price for what I'd assume, but I mean, really, not all that rare at this point, I guess, to be able to get an on card. Then we have a 2022 Neymar Archivals Inc. out of 99 on card going for 450, not a bad price there. Out of 65, 2018 Immaculate Mbappe Raw going for 430, so that feels, pretty strong. If I am correct, I believe that's the base, so really not all that high numbered. Next to that, Roberto Baggio and a PSA 6 for the Calcio Flash. Want to take a peek at that. This PSA 6 goes for 444. The one before this actually went for 200, so, decent bit of a pop there. One before that went for 1200, so, decent bit of a drop there, but, it drops and it pops, and we'll see where it lands in between, but that's not too bad at all. Then we have an R9 PSA 10, pretty good looking, but, a bit pricey for my blood, but I'm not an R9 collector, so to each their own. Personally, I like these other two a bit more, but they are like World Cup releases, so you got that. But 1970 Beckenbauer and a PSA 5. You also have Maradona and a PSA 7. This isn't by any means like a super rare back, so it doesn't have like a massive premium because of that. So generally speaking, I feel like most people would probably go for the Maradona here, but the 1970 set alone kind of has its own lore. Then we have a 2020 Color Blast Mo Salah, just gonna, smoothly gloss on by that to something I did bet on. I did not win. I love the early Maradona stuff just because, realistically for me, it fills the void of Pele, basically. Like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to do the crazy work and, the crazy money that would be involved in, trying to build out a Pele collection. Also, really don't have as much of a connection since it's even, longer before me. So personally, I really like this sticker, especially when it looks like this. If this would have been one of your normal, looks terrible, barely has any color in it, might have a wrinkle down the middle, this one looks really nice. Now, to be fair, it's off-centered. Personally, I don't really care much about centering, if I'm being honest. As long as I can see Maradona very clearly and have a very good picture and really good colors, that's mostly what I care about on this stuff, and that was a very nice one. One for 470, so congratulations to the buyer. It looks really, really good in my opinion. 1996 Ronaldo, we got another R9. This is presumably, somewhat rare. In higher grade, a PSA 1 of 5, not higher, so you got that going for it. And, early Barca stuff, or I guess the short stint at Barca for Ronaldo, not very easy to find, so at least relative to most things, right? I guess if we're talking like pre-war vintage, it's easy to find, but it depends how you view it. We got a DD Garrincha. It says rookie card. Not really a rookie, but it depends what you want to, classify Garrincha's rookie as. I still like 58 Garrincha stuff, and if I was going to collect a player in that era and, all the sets that Pele's in, I'd just collect Garrincha, because it'd be so much more efficient. I'd be able to learn everything. I'd be able to get a great player for a fraction of the price. And that's not to say that Pele's bad or extremely overpriced or, he should come down. It's just kind of the way that the hobby is at this point. Pele's put on a pedestal, and a pedestal he deserves, surely. 1963 Eusebio Blue Name going for 516. This isn't like a rare variant or anything, and a decent amount of these have popped up. So I looked this up. If we go back there, let me grab that. Looking that up, this one went for 516. Last one went for 420. Now, it does have an eye appeal designation, so that probably plays a role, but generally speaking, basically around the same price, I would say. Next to that, we have a Cruyff True rookie, I guess. I don't know. It's from 1967, but it is, or at least appears to be, more common than the Palarex. So where you stand on all that, it also has another guy in the front. People typically don't like that. Personally, I like it, and this is about the same price I bought one of mine for, so it seems to be about right in line. This one looks really clean on the front, pretty well centered, seems to have good edges, good corners, all that jazz. The back certainly is going to have some damage as well, but it honestly wasn't anything too crazy if I'm going to be real here. You can basically see everything. The lettering does get a bit iffy. To be fair, like this sort of stuff that you see here, this exists on all of them. It's actually a really, really nice looking back and front for that PSA 2. I would say that that is a very good one. Don't know why it didn't get an eye appeal designation. I feel like that would be worthy if anyone was, but it does have sort of a weird cut if you look at it, so maybe that plays a role in that. 2022 Declan Rice out of 10 going for 560. That doesn't feel bad at all to me. BGS 9 of the white Campione, or I guess Campione. Yeah, Campione Messi going for 560. Kind of light, but that's sort of, where BGS is at this point. 2007 Futera Messi, don't really know too much about that, but pretty cool card. Pop 1 of 10, so it doesn't seem like it's too hard to grade. Then we have an early George Best, 1969 Taifu T. Looks pretty good, and you have the facsimile auto on there, which is written in red and looks really bold. Next to that, we have a rare Zlatan going for 630 and a PSA 3. It's so hard to judge with this type of stuff, because the premiums don't work out the right way. Like, I know the last PSA 8 price, I believe, was a couple thousand, right? So to say that a 3 goes for 630, it doesn't feel right in line, but it also doesn't feel terribly out of line, especially when something like this is this rare to get, right? I'm thinking of it more in like the Este Messi realm, where a PSA 8 Messi Este probably goes for about the same price as a PSA 8 Panini Football Ibra. So given that, you know, I don't think a 3 Messi Este would go for this price. A 3 Messi Este would probably go for, I don't know, a few $100, 3, 4, 500. I mean, at most 500 probably. And this goes for 630. So it shows that people are, you know, gonna pay that little premium for even lower grades. And I think that shows that there are probably collectors out there just wanting the card. Obviously, in this case, a sticker, but you know, it is stuck. I guess to be fair, you know, when you start going pretty low, especially, I mean, if you're going to go to a 1 or 2, that's where it gets a little risky. You know, if there's as many as we've seen come out onto the market, there certainly can be a lot taken out of albums, so just be wary. PSA 7, Jared Muller going for 660. Not my favorite, but market seems to like it, and not, you know, terribly high pop in that grade, at least as far as PWCC is telling me. Then we have a gold Pedri in a PSA 10 going for 700. Next to that, a 1996 Panini Mejores Equipos de Europa Spanish version, Thierry Henry, and a PSA 8 going for 750. Looking at the prices for that, pretty light, but also not bad, really. Depends where you look from, which is how most of these cards and stickers work. PSA 6 last one sold for 274. Last PSA 7 sold for 440 and 430. So, you know, 750 seems about right in line in terms of where we are at in sales this year. Love seeing that, though. PSA pop 1 of 8 4-graded higher. So definitely coming out more in high grades. Back in the day, there weren't very many. Now seems to be a decent bit, but that's sort of what happens when, you know, these cards and stickers go through their discovery phase. PSA 10 gold prism going for 800 in a 10. Don't really know. Must be a set collector. I sure hope it's a set collector, not someone speculating on it, unless they really just truly love that card. 2004 Panini Mega Cracks, the white Campione version, Messi in a PSA 9 going for 780. Little light, but relatively in the ballpark of what we've been seeing, typically 8 to 900. Gold Mbappe Finest going for 810. Doesn't feel too bad. I mean, 2018, you know, people like 2018 Mbappe stuff, so that doesn't seem terrible. Pop 1 of 5, none graded higher in a BGS 9.5. Mojo Prism in a 10 going for 840. Then we have a 1962 Pele and a 1.5 going for 870, so certainly a big hitter for that one. I have seen that picture before on, feels like a few different cards, but in a 1.5, pop 1 of 2, 6 graded higher. I mean, that's pretty massive. It looks to be a fun early Pele right there. 2018 Immaculate Mbappe out of 10 going for 900. Honestly, I mean, that doesn't seem too bad compared to what we were seeing earlier. I know people aren't that crazy on Immaculate and Immaculate Gold. I mean, you can tell there's like kind of this shine, but it's really, you know, not that gold. So that probably plays a role. Next to that, BGS 7.5 Messi Este. This is one that, you know, maybe people were staying away from. This was graded a good bit ago, so before there were fakes, really. It seemed to be a pretty decent copy, at least to me. I wasn't going to bid on it just because you never really know with BGS. Here, really, the only thing that seems to be off is the centering and maybe a slight corner in the top left or something like that. You can tell. But beyond that, BGS stickers sometimes tend to get wavy, and you really just have to look for it. Like this one, you can't really tell, but sometimes, like the straight line, you can obviously see there's some sort of like sine wave going on, and yeah, that shouldn't be happening. So this one didn't seem that bad. Typically, I'll like line up lines against the edges to see if they look right. This one didn't look bad, but at 1,000, I feel like that's a fair price, especially. That would seem to be about comp for like a PSA 7. So, you know, BGS not getting too heavily discounted there. Then we have a 1965 Jared Muller Bergman PSA 5 right here going for 960. Feels good to see this, at least personally. You guys know a few weeks ago I bought one in a SGC 4.5 for a little over 500, so to see this price is decent. Doesn't make me feel too bad about where I got it. But one thing I did see on the back when I was just looking through this is, you know, just looks a little weird right there. Someone pointed this out in the Discord today, and I had seen this myself, mostly just because I know at this point to look at Bergman 1965, because sometimes the backs are iffy, and so just by having known that, I did look at the back, and this little, I guess, indentation on the 5, or the lack of color there, it does happen sometimes with older stickers, but typically what I do is I look at the rest of the other stickers or cards in that set and see, well, how often does it happen? And is this like a factory thing that happens a bunch? With something like the Cruyff earlier that we talked about, it does happen on a lot of them. This doesn't seem to appear elsewhere, so I didn't know what that was, and for that reason, just a little sussed out. Also, the back of this one is very white-ish, I would say, or it just lacks more color than the rest of them seem to have. A lot of the other ones are more brownish. So yeah, don't know what's going on there, but was a little sussed out, but also thought the price was pretty good. So then we have a PSA 4 TTT Beckenbauer going for $990. PSA Pop 103, just 3 graded higher. So I haven't seen tons of these, so this would seem to make sense. I also think it's, you know, one of the cooler looking of the Beckenbauer rookies. I do like the one with the green background. I mean, that one's just a classic. But in terms of like action shots, I think that this is just a lovely little scene painted here. But a really cool looking one and a pretty decent price as well. Next to that, we have BGS4 Ronaldo going for a little over $1,000 in a you know, pretty low grade, I would say. You see a lot of these mid-high grades in BGS, so that's holding a good floor, and a lot of collectors seem to be pouring in there. 1998 Xavi. This is the Panini Football in a decent grade. PSA Pop 107, 6 graded higher, so not the best, but also pretty decent when we look at past sales. This is actually a good bump from the last sale. The last sale was $576. This one is almost double that. So congratulations to the seller, and I guess also the buyer too. At this point, you know, it had gone 2 months without getting sold, and so maybe, you know, someone's, or I guess a couple people are looking to get into that. Definitely not the rarest of the Xavi rookies, but I think it does look the best, so you have to sort of balance out how do you see that. But really cool to see there. Next to that, we have a Maradona 1978 crack in a 2. Sort of has this like yellowish stripe going down right there, if you can see it. But looks pretty good. Colors seem to be decent. Back also looks pretty clean. The focus on these isn't always the best, and it doesn't appear to be the best here, where his face is a little fuzzy. Yeah, definitely a little fuzzy, but you can't win them all. And yeah, I don't know what that is. You don't typically see that, but interesting nonetheless. Very bad corners, some yellowing. I don't know. The card has decent colors and a decent back, so it has some good attributes and some bad attributes. So all in all, feels like a pretty average one, I would say. 1958 Garincha in an 8, so a really high grade there, and a pretty early Garincha. This also says rookie, not a rookie, but it is what it is. 1979 Calciatore Maradona. Gonna look at this, and I just wanted to put the full context there. We do this sometimes with the cards and stickers, and you know, I don't know, and maybe this is just me mentally battling to try to figure this out, but like when you look at Maradona's other rookies, right, they've gone up a good bit, sure, but like the 78 crack we just looked at, that's probably up maybe 3x, maybe 4x from when the boom happened. I mean, this was like $60, $90, $200, and now it's I guess it's come down a little bit, so it's pretty fair. But as you can tell, there was a time where it was crazy, and as you can tell, this is not the lowest pop of anything. Sure, I mean, in terms of vintage, this is one of the highest. Pop 502, I think it is the highest still. I don't even know what really rivals it at this point. And, you know, I think that could change over time if some of the, you know, things that were printed heavier could be submitted and sold for money. This sort of hits the cross section where, you know, it's such an in-demand card and there is so much supply that it can have a high pop. But as you can see, slowing down. So this is something, you know, I don't know, I might bring up another graph at some point, but this is pretty consistent across the board. When you look from September of last year, October of last year, even the start of this year to now, there's very little. Again, I mentioned it earlier, I know we were in the constant dropping, but when there's, you know, 3 a month, 1 a month, 2 a month, 3 a month, 3 a month, and when there's constant ones being graded and sent to the market, and that's going to play a role. If this starts to happen and people can kind of trust pops a little bit more, I think that's a game changer, because right now no one trusts pops. If they did, people would lose their mind over all of this. I think personally, right? If you could trust pops, right? Because that's why people are buying numbered stuff right now, because they don't trust pops. I know I'm talking good about something I just talked bad about, but that's sort of, you know, we play both sides of it. If you could trust this and be like, I'm buying a PSA 7 for $1,500. This is a pop 37, you know, maybe 100 higher. So this is a great one. If you could convince yourself of that, which people can't do anymore because they think there's just millions of all these out there, then, you know, things can change. When does it change? How does it change? I don't know. That's all just, you know, speculation and whatnot. So just throwing it out there. I do think it is worthy of being thought about. Rest of this row, we have a dollar bill looking Pele here in a PSA 4 going for $1,200. Pop 101, ungraded higher. Field level checkerboard prism Kylian Mbappe rookie PSA 10. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks good, sure, and it is, I guess, a rookie. People don't really talk about 2017 Select too much when they talk about Kylian Mbappe rookies, but I think it deserves to be mentioned. 1260 feels like a pretty good price there. Going for near the same as a PSA 2 Mega Cracks Lionel Messi, so interesting to see this going for, what, 1260, and the BGS 4 Ronaldo went for a little over 1,000. Holding up really well right there. I mean, that is a surely a collector, you would think. Most investors, big stock flipper guys aren't going to buy a PSA 2. That is beneath them. De Stefano Montcudine disc, 1946. There's been some debate in the vintage Discord about whether or not that's real, the release, all that jazz. It did sell on a hefty discount from the last one, $3,200 just a month ago to $1,300. So that is pretty massive. To be fair, this one doesn't look as good. If you look at it, I mean, the white by his face, it's just a lot of like missing colors. This one looks a little bit better. Still not great, but it is what it is. Pop 1 of 2, just 2 graded higher, so seems to be insanely rare. But, of course, you do have the little bit of controversy along with it. 2022 Vinicius out of 5 auto going for $1,300. Bunch of legends of the game here, you know. We have Lionel Messi above that, 2021. This is one of the coat hanger signatures, so one to be weary of. Next to that, 2018 National Treasures Mbappe. Authentic going for $1,600. Feels like a pretty strong price for an authentic grade, to be honest. I feel like you'd just rather sell that raw than say it's authentic. That's like admitting that this is not gradable, which, you know, I can kind of respect it, but feels weird. Then we have a Lionel Messi Zebra Prism. This, I don't even know what to say. I understand that there's a narrative on Messi Prism for 2022, but when you see how many parallels there are, and I mean, so many low numbered ones, so many unnumbered ones, so many different sets. There's so much 2022 stuff for Lionel Messi. It just blows your mind. I mean, it blows my mind thinking about it. And, you know, I get why people like it because it's rare, it's now, it's in the moment, it's, you know, this is going to live in infamy. I don't know. I don't see it. But, you know, if you're into that stuff, congratulations. That felt really condescending, but I don't know. You lose me when it's just animal stripes. I don't care at that point. I barely cared whenever we were getting to crazy numbers, let alone all this jazz. So it just is what it is. This is where I yell at clouds and turn into an old man. So 2021 Immaculate Mbappe 1 of 1 going for $1,700. 1993 Roberto Carlos PSA 8 going for $2,100. Feels about right in line. Him and Rivaldo are both in the set and have dropped a bit in high grade. This is Pop 1 of 5, just 2 graded higher, but seems to be sort of where they've been at lately, a couple thousand for the highest grades. Lionel Messi, this is a 2021-22 Panini Mosaic Road to FIFA World Cup. Looks to be on card, at least from what I can tell, and not a coat hanger auto, so you got that going for you. 2,500, nothing too crazy there. Above that, this Kaká, I mean, I don't know. 2,600, when we look at the sales history, this is part of why I say I don't know. You know, 2,600 there. The last one in a 7 sold for 3,000, and that was a year ago. And for a lot of niche players, Kaká being certainly niche, over the last year, they have not fared well. So to say that that's only dropped, you know, a few hundred is pretty impressive. And to be fair, in high grade, these haven't been, you know, coming to market massively. It's Pop 1 of 2, just 1 graded higher. So I could see that, but you'd have to imagine if there are 7s coming out, because back in the day, I mean, I didn't see any 7s really. So if there's 7s, well, there's probably 8s, there's probably 9s, there might be a 10, you know? And so then you sort of have to play this game of, well, where is the 7 worth then? So during the same time, why I think it's a bit crazy. So in January, it sold for 3,000. Next after that, PSA 5 sold for 1,800. And then just, you know, 6 months after that, the PSA 6 sold for 1,000. So the 5 went from being worth almost 2,000 to the 6 being worth 1,000, which implies like a 75% drop or something along those lines when you consider the grade adjustment, right? And so in that same time, the PSA 7 only dropped 10%, which to me seems a little crazy. Obviously, there's variants in cards and stickers and sales and all that jazz, but yeah, I don't know. 2021 Immaculate Platinum 1 of 1 Maradona. You know, I don't know how I feel about retired player sticker autos. Well, I know how I feel. I don't feel great, but if you are one of those player collectors, I can see why that would be a great card. Cyrillic Mbappe 2018 BGS 9.5 going for 2,700. Doesn't feel like a crazy price. I know people pretty much covet the Cyrillics, and they're one of the more unique parallels, I'd say, throughout Prism's history. So at least within soccer. And so for that reason, I feel like that's not too bad at all. BGS 9.5, pop 1 of 9, none graded higher. Above that, we move into the top 6 here. We have a Pele 1965 Panini Calciatore PSA 5, looking really, really nice there. PSA pop 1 of 5, 2 graded higher, and this is top 15%. So that's basically saying like this is, you know, top 3 overall, top 4 overall for the sticker in PSA grade, which is really, really cool. Amazing looking sticker, graded somewhat recently, so, you know, I always like to point that out. But looks beautiful and pretty beautiful price as well. Next to that, we have a 1985 Eric Cantona in a PSA 9. Looking at the Eric Cantonas, basically there have been none graded in a PSA 9, or at least none graded and sold. I think it's a pop 3 or 4, something along those lines. But when we look at past sales, lots of PSA 5s, a PSA 6 at the bottom, and I guess, you know, basically it would seem like a moderately light sale if you had to do all the multipliers and figure out where a PSA 9 should be. But when you've never really seen it, no one knows where to gauge from, it's always sort of up in the air in terms of where it lands. And so based off 750 and 870 and the prices before, I guess, you know, this is fair. I would have expected maybe a little higher, but in all honesty, that is a really nice sale for, I guess I would say, a niche player as well. Obviously a legend, you know, obviously a great sticker too, in the sense that it's pretty rare, especially in high grade. And so all that added together, it's fun to see. Next to that, we have a BGS 8 Mega Cracks Messi going for 4,300. Not a bad price. We'll see another one here in a second, and then we can go look at some graphs. Above that, we have a 1958 Tupanamba Quigold Pele. This is actually alleged to be 59 or even 60. So it used to be basically thought of as the Pele rookie. And we'll see that in Card Ladder here. So this is one of those things that you know was crazy back in the day, because right now it says a PSA 2 is valued in Card Ladder at 4,800, sells last night for, I guess, well, 4,800. So seems to check out. They didn't have that sale already plugged in, so they just pinpointed that, I guess. Very interesting that they were able to get there, but nonetheless, that is down a good bit. I guess the last sale without a PWCC qualifier was 9,600, and even with the qualifier is 9,900. So that is, you know, almost a cut in half from 7-8 months ago. But you know something was big back in the day if it was 3,000 in 2017 in a PSA 2. Now it did start to drop, and I'm guessing that's when the narrative of, yeah, this isn't the rookie we thought it was, started to happen, and maybe more came to market. It's still down a good bit, but this is kind of brutal, I would say. If you bought this in 2017 for $3,000 and it just sold for, you know, 4,800, you're up 60%, which I guess 60% in like, you know, 6-7 years isn't bad in theory, but when you went through the like crazy boom that soccer had and that's all you got, that doesn't feel that good. Personally, I love the sticker. I think it looks really, really good, but it's, you know, baked in that it's a rookie when it probably isn't. PSA 7 Messi 2004 Mega Crack 71 bis coming in here at 5,000, so $700 more than the BGS 8. Again, just sort of shows where BGS is. Also, BGS has a lot of 9.5s and a lot of 9s and, you know, more than PSA. So that also plays a role there. When we look at the graph for that, that's actually up a good bit from the last sale. Last sale was 4,100 a few weeks ago. Actually, last week. This sale is 5,500. So as we can tell, this is sort of going into the World Cup, post-World Cup win, and then sort of questioning where it should be afterwards, but it seems to be holding up pretty well. And then finally, we ended off with the modern GOAT, I would say, with Mbappe. Obviously, that can be argued with Haaland at this point, I mean, with what's going on. But 2017 Select Tie-Dye PSA 10 out of 30. Personally, I love tie-dyes. I think they look really, really good. I'm not as much of a fan of the 2017 Select horizontals. I talk about them a lot. Everyone seems to love them. I think it's sort of the checkerboard, you know, thing that people really like, but a really, really cool card, surely. PSA 10, I was saying earlier that people don't really consider Select a rookie card. Judging by this sale, you know, it would seem that someone does. So, but still a really, really cool variation there for a modern great that people are going to pay a premium for, certainly. So overall, a really great auction, and one of the things I wanted to touch on was I was watching Cajun Cardboard's basketball version of this, and I like looking at it just to sort of see what, you know, basketball's doing, right? And when I look through basketball, it's a ton of young guys, so many young guys, like a preposterous amount of young guys, which to me says that people are still gambling. They're still just hunting for the next big thing. They're hoping, they're praying, and they're not willing to die on that hill. They probably will one day. But when you look through, you know, soccer, like, look at this. I mean, sure, Mbappe's young, but he is like best of the best. It's like a Luka in basketball, right? we have Messi, we have Pele, we have, you know, Eric Cantona, which is pretty niche, but also just a great player. I mean, all of these guys are proven. I don't know, like, I guess first unproven fully guy would probably be Vinicius. But other than that, I mean, it is nothing but legends and just great cards and stickers from every year and every set. And so I just want to say it's really fun to look through these and I enjoy it a lot. But that's going to be it for the PWCC weekly review. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the sales or if you bought one of these down below in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day and peace.